Hello again, my dear friend. I'm so happy you're still here, walking this journey of the mind and heart. Let me ask you something deep. Have you ever felt trapped by your own thoughts, as if your mind keeps replaying old fears, regrets, and patterns? No matter how hard you try to change, you read inspiring words. You promise to be different, but soon you find yourself reacting the same way again. Don't worry. You are not broken. You are human. What you're experiencing is the invisible pull of your storehouse consciousness, what ancient Buddhist psychology calls the alaya vijnana. It's the hidden field beneath your waking thoughts where every memory, habit, and emotion has left its seed. Today, we will explore how to transform those seeds, not by fighting them, but by turning delusion into awakening, confusion into clarity, and weakness into what I call the iron mind, a state of unwavering awareness that bends but never breaks. Let's begin with a story. A young man named Wei was known for his short temper. He loved his family, but the smallest criticism made him explode. He blamed stress, work, and the people around him, but deep down he hated himself for losing control. One day, after another argument, he sat on a park bench and began to cry. An old monk sitting nearby asked, "Why do you cry, my son?" Wei said, "Because no matter how much I try to change, I always go back to the same mistakes." The monk smiled softly and said, "That's because you're trying to cut the branches instead of changing the root." Wei frowned. "The root?" The monk pointed to a tree beside them. "If the seed is bitter, no amount of pruning will make its fruit sweet." That sentence stayed with Wei for years. It was the beginning of his journey into the mind's deepest soil, the storehouse consciousness. So, what is this mysterious storehouse? Think of your consciousness as a vast garden. The upper levels of the mind, your active thoughts, emotions, and decisions are like the surface plants you can see. Beneath the soil lies the storehouse where every action, word, and thought plants a seed. Every time you act with anger, you plant a seed of anger. Every moment of kindness plants a seed of peace. And these seeds don't vanish, they wait, they sleep. When the right conditions rise, they sprout again. That's why sometimes you react to small triggers with massive emotion. It's not about the present, it's the echo of old seeds ripening. The good news, you can replant your garden. The Buddha taught that through awareness and consistent practice, you can transform negative seeds into positive ones, and positive ones into wisdom. This is not fantasy. It's the psychology of cause and effect. When you meet anger with mindfulness instead of reaction, you water a new seed, patience. When you respond to fear with compassion instead of avoidance, you plant courage. Slowly, the landscape of your mind changes. Let's make this practical. Imagine you're driving and someone cuts you off in traffic. The old habit is to shout or curse, but if you pause for one breath and instead think, maybe they're rushing to the hospital, you plant a seed of empathy instead of rage. That one small act, repeated 100 times, rewires the soil of your consciousness. It's not about pretending to be calm, it's about training the storehouse to produce different fruit. You cannot control every thought that rises, but you can control which thoughts you water. There's a powerful teaching in Yogasara Buddhism: when the storehouse turns, all consciousness transforms. Means that the moment you see the mechanism clearly, the illusion loses its power. The old patterns stop owning you. You stop being a victim of your conditioning and become the gardener of your destiny. But this takes time. Seeds don't sprout overnight, and that's where the iron mind comes in. The iron mind is not hard in the sense of coldness. It's firm in the sense of steadiness. Imagine a sword forged through countless strikes of fire and hammer. Every challenge in your life, every disappointment is one strike. Each time you face it without running away, the metal of your mind becomes stronger. The iron mind doesn't suppress emotion, it holds it without breaking. It doesn't deny confusion, it walks through confusion with patience. This is the true strength of a spiritual warrior, not to destroy the darkness, but to become so luminous that darkness loses its meaning. Let's bring this into the modern world. The day we are overwhelmed with noise, social media, deadlines, distractions, every scroll plants seeds in the storehouse. Most of them are seeds of comparison, envy, or restlessness. So, ask yourself, what are you feeding your mind? Just as you wouldn't eat spoiled food, why consume toxic thoughts? Each time you read, watch, or say something, pause and feel, is this nourishing my peace or my fear? That awareness alone begins to change what enters the storehouse. Because transformation is not about control, it's about conscious selection. Here's a small practice called seed replacement. Step 1. When a negative thought arises, jealousy, anger, and skydian, push it away. Name it gently. Anger is here. Step 2. Breathe and recall its opposite quality. May this anger transform into understanding. Step 3. Visualize planting a new seed of calm in the same spot. Step 4. Smile softly, not because you've won, but because you're learning to garden your mind. Do this daily, and you'll notice how even old patterns lose their grip. The Buddha compared the mind to a vast ocean. On the surface, storms rage, but in the depths, the water is always still. Meditation helps you dive beneath the waves, where clarity abides. When you touch that depth, even for a few seconds, you realize that awareness itself was never tainted by any seed. It's the soil that holds them, but it's not the seeds themselves. That insight is liberation, the recognition that the core of you is not your history, but your capacity to awaken. Let's look at this through science for a moment. Neuroscientists talk about neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to change its structure through repeated thought and behavior. Ancient Buddhists described the same thing 2,000 years ago in terms of the storehouse. What you repeat becomes real. If you feed your mind fear, your brain builds fear circuits. If you feed it compassion, it builds peace circuits. So each moment is a choice: reinforce your suffering or rewire your freedom. Let's tell another story. A woman named Sophia struggled with self-doubt her entire life. Every compliment she received bounced off like rain on glass. He always thought, they're just being nice. One evening, her meditation teacher said, "You've been reciting your unworthiness for years. What would happen if you stopped feeding that seed?" Sophia took it literally. Every time the thought, "I'm not enough," appeared, she would smile and say, "That's an old seed." First it felt fake, but over time, the soil changed. The old voice grew quieter, and a new one began to whisper, "I am learning." After months of practice, she said, "I no longer believe every thought that visits me." That was the birth of her iron mind. Here's a secret about the iron mind: it's soft inside. True strength isn't harsh, it's the ability to hold pain with tenderness. When you can face your shadows without collapsing, you embody real power. The masters call this compassionate endurance. It's the power to stay open even when life burns. You don't close the heart to survive, you expand it. Now, let's talk about delusion. Delusion means seeing the impermanent as permanent, the painful as pleasurable, the impure as pure, and the non-self as self. Every time we cling to these illusions, we plant suffering. But awareness doesn't destroy delusion by force, it transforms it through understanding. When you see clearly that your anger is protecting your vulnerability, compassion rises naturally. When you see that your fear is simply love wanting safety, the heart softens. That's how delusion turns into awakening, by being seen fully. Let's practice a short reflection. Sit quietly and bring to mind one recurring pattern you wish to change. It could be impatience, insecurity, or fear. Now ask gently, what seed is this? Trace it back. Maybe it's a childhood memory, a past wound, an unmet need. Then say inwardly, I see you. You can rest now. This act of seeing with love weakens the seed's hold. Over time, it dissolves back into the soil of awareness. As your practice deepens, you may notice something extraordinary. The more you accept your imperfections, the lighter you become. Because the iron mind doesn't fight its shadows, it integrates them. Your anger becomes determination. Your fear becomes humility. Your sadness becomes empathy. Every emotion becomes a doorway to understanding. That's what it means to turn delusion into awakening. Eventually, you realize that the storehouse consciousness itself is not a burden, but a treasury. It contains the full record of your humanity, the mistakes, the kindness, the laughter, the grief, and through practice, all of it can be purified into wisdom. When the storehouse is cleansed, what remains is pure awareness, the mind before thought, luminous and boundless. That's the final transformation from the conditioned mind to the mirror mind that reflects without distortion. Imagine this image before we close. Sword lies buried in rust. For years it sits untouched, forgotten. One day, you take it up and begin to polish. The rust flakes away, revealing the shining blade beneath. That blade is your true mind, sharp, clear, compassionate. The polishing is your daily awareness. Each moment of mindfulness removes a little more corrosion. Eventually, the sword gleams so brightly that it reflects everything exactly as it is, nothing added, nothing taken away. That is the iron mind, unyielding in clarity, gentle in compassion. So, my friend, remember this. You are not a prisoner of your past, you are the gardener of your present. Every thought is a seed. Every choice waters a future. Every breath is a chance to turn delusion into awakening. When you understand this, no mistake is wasted, no suffering is meaningless. Everything becomes part of the alchemy that turns the ordinary into the sacred. And when your storehouse blooms with clarity, even the darkest corners of your life shine with wisdom. Thank you for watching this video. If this message inspired you, please like, subscribe, comment, and share it with someone who might be ready to turn their confusion into clarity, their pain into strength, and their mind into unbreakable peace.
Before you leave, here's something special. In Buddhism, we believe that every encounter carries a deeper meaning. Would you like to discover your true soul connection, the one written into your destiny? Take the Soulmate Test today and unveil the hidden truths of your journey. Click the link below and begin your path now.
http://soulmate. You wisdom more, come, white.